teaching shortest walk for Grasshopper. Uh, it is a rather prescriptive plugin. To start off, we're going to go to your vectors component and bring down a grid. You can choose any of these, it does not really matter. For this case, I'll just go with a square. We're also going to need to bring in a couple number sliders. These here will, in this case, generate the dimensions of our grid. The shortest walk works well on is it takes all of the sizes or topographies or streets in this case and generates the shortest possible curve that we got out of it from a certain destination. To continue, we're going to need to bring in a curve and explode and another curve. And we'll connect the curve to the explode to the curve. What this does is, as you can see here, it breaks up our grid down into a set of points and lines, in which case these lines are then able to be read when we will plug them into shortest walk as sets of paths. From here, we're going to need to generate a list length that will compress all these data points into a singular list. And then we'll need to bring in a random as well as a slider that will generate our seed. I did. You connect that to the curve right down here, and then over to the random box.
Did you create a sheet in Rhino before you did this?
I have not created anything in Rhino yet. Everything is currently in Grasshopper space, such as the grid here. Oh, my apologies.
What's that command feature?
This here? That is an explode. It just breaks up the curves into smaller segments that allows for readability.
Which component is the one with that hashtag grid?
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a square grid. It can be any type of grid for this instance. It works on all of them.
What's the one marked seed?
Seed?
Yeah.
Is a number slider that goes into random. All this does is it takes the list of pseudo-random numbers and it gives it a certain generation of patterns.
What was this slider? This is
Seed? That's just a number slider. Alright, everyone good? To continue on, we're going to need a smaller than component. And we're going to connect the random list. And then we're going to need a number slider once more. And these will be our second number and first number. And these will generate a certain output of components. From there, we will bring in a coal pattern. And this removes all the excessive elements of the list that we just generated from the curve. And we're going to connect it from the greater than, the less than or equal to, as well as the curve that we previously used. And now we'll take all of our random lists and compress them and remove any extraneous elements. At this point, we'll redo that curve explode curve pattern. However, on this last curve, we're going to go through here and have the input be flattened to bring it down all into one singular list that shortest walk can then read. What this does for when we actually plug it into shortest walk is it generates the list of all possible curves that we'll be reading. In this case, it's a grid. A more practical function would be in conjunction with ELK using the OSN data to generate a shortest possible walk or direction from, say, in instance we were to do Pullman from Carpenter Hall to Dismores or something along those lines. We'll take all the roads that possibly get there and culminate it down to the shortest possible path. What we're going to need to do from there, though, is to set the points that we'll be trying to figure out. So bring in 2 points. And on here, we will set them into our grid. Try and get them as close as you can. If you want to bake it, it'll bring in the grid a little bit better, and that way you can use the snap function and actually connect it to the line more properly. And you'll do that amongst the 2 points. So as you can see, on the amongst of our possible curves, we have 2 destinations that we're trying to get to, or in between. From here, bring in a 2-point line. And connect the 2. However, so that I don't have a line floating there at the end, I tend to turn the preview off. This line here is our desired path, where, since, as I said, a line is the shortest possible route, that is your desired path that you wish to go. It will use this direction as a way of generating the direction of which to go. Oh, yeah. There we go. So we got our 2 points. And our desired path. So the curves in this case would act as the list of all possible ways to go, and the desired path is our constraint. To find shortest path, we can always type in shortest path and it shows up just fine. Or we can go up here to curves, and under utility it'll be the icon here. And just go ahead and bring it on in. From here, the curves go into the list of curves. And the line goes into our desired path down here at the bottom. And as you can see here in Grasshopper, in Rhino, the desired path will be generated in this view here. To make it a little bit more noticeable, bring in a swatch. Blue usually tends to stand out amongst the red a little bit better in my opinion. And bring in a preview. And we'll connect those two. And then the general preview to the shortest walk output. So now we have our outstanding line, which can then be put onto a separate layer or what have you. However, having a just visual doesn't do us really any doesn't do any good outside the visual. However, if we generate a panel and bring it to the L, it'll give us the exact length of the output. That is shortest walk in a nutshell. I mean, once again, if you have more complex forms like topographies and roads, and as we had done with Will's, and projected routes and everything onto the maps, it will then still generate the form. You had a question, Lee?
If it's the shortest walk, so why is it not just straight line?
What it uses is it uses the curves, so it'll use what you input as your parameters. It'll follow the roads, or it'll follow.
Sorry.
It is still recording. It'll follow other instances and help you using what is actually generating those curves. Find the shortest route.
So each sphere represents a block.
In this case, it could represent a block.
So just as he's saying, like, this is how we use noise, when you could feed it into that, and then have it make on the surface, and then the shortest walk of this kind of So there's also a couple of like Galapagos, we give you like a range of outputs for this map. Usually you say.
For instance,
So can you,
this is that map of Pullman I was mentioning.
Because if the cable's not working all the way. This one. Or no, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so just the quick topographies of Elk here. This is Pullman campus, and for instance, Stevenson East and Carpenter Hall. Using the roads that I had selected, it'll bring out that path.
Does it give you distances or anything?
It does. If you go down here at the shortest walk output, down here at the length, and plug in a panel, it'll give you the shortest walk, the length of that path.
Is that like feet or?
This one here's in inches, but yes, it'll give out feet, inches, what have you, based on your settings. Yes.
So can you plug in, like, give it a constraint that says like what's the shortest path that does not exceed X
Yes.
incline? Like what they were doing with the bike path here on campus, like you can do that?
Yep. In here, I'd say another constraint based on the length.
The length or like the
So, like here, as far as I found out, it is the length, so you can use the incline as well. It's just a matter of how you format it.
we can write in the news as well.
Okay.
Another kind of self-definition that we create to it.
That's like super useful.
Yes, this is just the geometry preview, or the custom preview. You plug your swatch into it, and then your geometry that you'll come out, and it will turn in Rhino space. The geometry.
So if you divide that by 12, again, how many feet that it would take to walk?
Yes.
You know,